So, yep, pretty much right at now going with the philosophy that see if we can get it to work better at different locations. So right now, window open, nice and cool, different room. See if we're getting a better signal. I don't know if we're going to get a better signal. Don't you tell me we dropped it. I'm going to be pissed off. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be angry. If this is going to continue to be a problem with this functioning now, I'm going to have to reevaluate doing any live videos. I'm not sure. But I'm also just kind of at the point now where some of the frustrations I've had to deal with this week have got me sort of in the mindset that I will finish up what I've started this week. So I did the stain shading, I did the dot art style, and I will try to finish up the logo and artwork for the channel. And I think we're going to call that for the week for artwork. It's not going to be a new project every day, and I'm leaving behind the eggshell mosaic, the sand art, and the collage. I don't have the capability of taking care of that. There's one more too, wasn't there? Oh yeah, flow painting. I won't get to that either. It'll be what it'll be, I guess. I got a lot on my plate to plan for the next coming weeks, and the repeated failures of this computer to do live casts on has me suspecting that it might be this computer that struggles with it. I'm not sure I don't know that I've ever had a disconnect on the other computer, despite the fact that this one's supposed to have more RAM capability and be an upgrade. I'm not super excited about the fact that it's done that to me multiple times. I'm not sure what the issue is. I mean, for all I know, I could start up the other computer, set it up somewhere, and try to do some work on it, and it would do it too. But it always seems that it's using this one that causes the signal drop and then losing half hours of my work. So I was so paranoid about it yesterday, I think it was, that every 12 to 15 minutes I would stop a video, start a new one, and see if it would finish loading the first one. I think we had 2 failures yesterday and 3 successes. So, I mean, I finally got something up, but I don't know why it was fighting me on that. So, I'll have to keep that in mind for the future. I may see if I can take this down to the makerspace and just do live video there. I don't know if it makes sense. It might work better now that better controlled audio and a better camera. Because I know the lighting at the makerspace is not great. And the audio issues I had at the makerspace were in-camera microphones, like on my tripod camera, and the web camera on one of the last laptops. The mic on that, they both picked up the buzz of the fluorescent lighting. And so when I did a couple of those recorded and edited videos there was just this buzzing hum in the background of my videos. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't rewatch these for long periods of time and not feel frustrated with that sound. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue with, like, this mic should be able to not carry those tones. This camera seems to handle lighting fairly well. So thank you for those. That should make it potentially easier to do a video down at the makerspace. So I may do that. Because if it's the internet connection, then that would definitely change down at the makerspace where we're more metropolitan and less rural. I am tired. I got 4 hours of sleep last night because struggling with other things. But I'm also working on. It's weird to do the videos for the fitness routine that I've been adopting recently. It's really it's absolutely hilarious to me how poorly I'm doing at some of these very simple exercises. I'm like, I know I can go walking just nonstop. You could drop me off somewhere and I could walk, and then it could be 6 to 8 hours later when you find me and I could be still walking. I don't have any problems with that. But one push-up, it's not so bad as that. I did several push-ups the other day, but the intervening time and oh god, and the lack of sleep last night, I think both made me at such a point that I was unfit for push-ups today. It was a real struggle just to get 3 done. But I just thought that was hilarious. But that's sort of one of the interesting things about doing this project is starting from a point where you'll have days where doing a push-up is so hard. And then I'm hoping by the end of this month of, well, I mean, I guess it's the start of next month technically, but the 4 weeks of exercise routine. Yeah, I'm just yawning all over the place. The 4 weeks of exercise building towards getting comfortable and fit enough to be able to do them comfortably. I'm looking forward to getting to that point and being able to demonstrate a change in my ability. I'm doing some planning for the trip to California. It's not going to be what it was before. I'm not driving. I think what I'm going to do in the next couple days is buy a plane ticket. I can get a cheaper ticket than it would cost me in gas mileage, tolls, and food for a week to travel. I believe when I ran the calculations in my head, just the gas to get from here to California and back was going to be about $638. Now, I'm pretty sure if I step on it soon, I can book a flight for about $400. So I think that makes more sense to me. And then I'm trying to make arrangements for where I'm going to stay when I get out there. And I've got 15 days left in June and 10 in July. So I've got about 25 days to get things squared away. And in the meantime, since I won't be driving, I will have less urgency about making sure my car is inspected and registered so much. Like, if I literally just, well, I mean, I still have to get it done by July 10th, but that's sort of like the big marking point at that point. So it's not like I need to get it fixed and ready by the 27th of June, because I've got weeks after that before I have to worry about it. And I will leave it behind when I go to the airport, and I will get back to it when I get back. So, and I will only be gone for, feasibly, I will be flying for the 10th, at VidCon for the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And theoretically, I could catch a flight back, like an overnight flight on the 13th, and that would work. And if I slept on the plane, I don't have to find a place to stay for that Saturday night. I get back here rested, and I can pick up my day when I arrive back here just as if it were no big thing. And that would be the night of the 10th, 11th, and 12th that I would have to find a place for. And that's a little bit easier. And then it's also those same, like, I will be having to consider what I'm eating on the 10th through the 14th, because some of that will be travel time and some of that will be when I'm in California, and that'll be the point where I'm having to eat a high carb diet. So I'll be doing that. So that's not super hard. Like, I'm sure I can find bags of chips and whatnot, waffles and whatever that I need while I'm doing this. But it's also, keeping in mind that, my original plan was to be driving for over a week and planning the meals to eat out of the car during that week. So it doesn't have to be that way anymore. It's literally, the travel food is going to be something that's, 2 or 3 days. The rest of the high carb month may end up being some things like ramen, spaghetti, and some of those types of things where I can do them in a kitchen. So that's sort of what's on my mind right now. I'm gonna have to see if I can contact my car insurance to see if they can replace the windshield because it's cracked. If they can take care of that and I don't have to pay, well, I don't know. I think my deductible that I have to meet on my car insurance is $500. So I don't imagine they'll cover that $300 windshield. Give them a call anyway, just to see what I can find out. But yeah, so this week's projects, I can actually see if I can pull out my notebook. I've got it over here. I've got some of the things that I've been playing around with the logo design, the pixel art stuff. All right, so let's see if we can do this without disrupting too much of everything. Okay, I need to behave that way. All right, so what's we got? All right, so the first day's demo stuff. So I did the demo of a smiley subdividing some of the squares so that you could get 9 squares inside a single square. And these were black and white variants of the chess piece up here and the chess piece up here and the heart in smaller frames. And so the goal would be to do let's see if I got it on the next page. So looking at are you kidding me? There's something about it. I think it's the camera freaking out. As soon as you flipped view, I barely was able to see smooth video. I really do not understand why that can happen. So, yeah, don't freak out on me. Okay, so I'm still here. Okay. I got the notice saying that you were having a stream issue. So it was suggesting to me that it was potentially dropping my video. Because when it's done it in the past, that's when I disappear. But I admit the other night when we had me disappearing, I got no notice at all. But what was I doing that night? I think some of what does that is, like, I'm gonna do a little bit of demo here. See if we can get this to do it again. So what we've got is, so my camera, there we go. I'm getting lag again. So we're moving at a decent pace. The brighter color of the page, you'll notice my face is darker if you can see me at all. And that's the thing, is I was showing the colored pencil on white paper, and you'll notice with the white on screen, my face is much darker, and that's because flicker on my screen, and I can see my mouth is not moving smoothly. I'm getting a very jerky video feed. So if I close this, it gets much better. It's much easier for me to do my video here. Mouth movement is much smoother. My lighting is better. So I'm thinking it's something about I may have to go into the software for the camera and see if that's part of what's doing some of this. Because I'm thinking the first night it did it and I didn't know, I was doing on white page. Well, I did white page for the dot video too, didn't I? Yeah. But I think part of it was I was doing art on the pixel art on these, and I did the colored pencil stuff. I think once or twice I reached across in front of the camera with a dark sleeve on, and that potentially changed the shift in white balance or focus, and that may have stressed the camera. And I'm wondering if the rapid shift while live streaming with a separate mic and audio powered by USB on the laptop, which is running the live stream through a browser over internet signal that may not be the best. I think somewhere in there something stressed the system enough that there's just like, it can be okay sometimes, but if you just push a little too much that afternoon, it'll go seriously weird. Or it may just be the internet and around here. I may give it a try at the makerspace and see if that makes a difference. But I do know I get laggy when I pull up bright lighter color things on the screen here. So let's see if we can do. Try not to completely freak out on me, computer. So we're still doing pretty good with the sync. So, okay, so this is brightly lit, but that was one of the design ideas I was using as a demonstration. Now, I imagine I'm probably going to have to make the circle much bigger than this. I was looking at spacing and sizing of letters. And then one of the things I was dabbling with was trying to figure out how the letters fit with the pixels that they're going to be working in. So in this case, this one's having to run across, well, like here we have a, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3. So it's a 4 by 3 letter tile. And I think for the creation of what I need to do later on, each one of those squares should be another 9 grid. So the actual number of pixels per letter are going to be it's going to be substantially more than they are. But I think that level of control allows me to position letters better, especially as pixel art. Because if we did 4 squares high and 3 squares wide for the letters on this one right now, S, N, P, D, it wouldn't make any sense. The D would look like an O. The N would look like an H. You might be able to get away with the S. Probably not, though. S would look like an I as near as I can figure out how to do it. So if I split them up into further number of pixels, I can get a better result from that. And that would allow me to do the ring with the letters inspired across the top and content across the bottom. And then see if the camera freaks out this time. So on the bottom, I have a dark and a light version of the IC. I crowded too far to the edge of the page for the light one. And each one of those pixels is made up of at least 9 other pixels. And I can use those 9 other pixels, potentially splitting those up into 9 pixels and using them for each of the logos for each of the categories of content. And so each one of those squares, because each letter is easy enough to make, each of the I and the C are easy enough to make out of 8 squares each. And 8 is the number of categories I have on this channel. So if I split them up like that, I can get what I need for the letters out of those logos. And if I can make those logos using pixel art on a smaller level, that's sort of where I want to go with that. And when I get that going, if I get the inspired content in that ring, and then have the center something I can fill with each of the 8 logos, or the IC spelled out in pixel art for each of the 8 categories. And that, I think that's relatively doable. And my video stopped. Are we still going or what? All right. I think I can achieve that by the end of tomorrow. And call it a week of 3 artworks instead of 7. So it's not what I originally planned, but sometimes life is adapting to a new plan. So today is Friday, yeah? Yep. So tomorrow is the last day of art week. And then what are we doing after that? This was a swap with video week, so it'll be another board game. So Sunday I start another board game. Tabletop game. I don't know if it's going to actually be a board game. Have to figure that one out. We shall see. Yeah, I think I need to figure out a few things, but I think I might want to do a dice game. I have to figure it out, but I'll give it a go. And so, yep, this week's artworks are the stain shading, the dot art, and the pixel art. But here's a thought. Like if I do a logo for this channel, a banner for this channel, thumbnail art for this channel, that's three works out of one category of content. And then the stain shading and the dot art. So that's 5 pieces. If I do another piece of dot artwork, I could get 6. And then maybe another stain shading project before the end of tomorrow. That seems like wishful thinking. I don't know that I will do that. I think I'm going to spend more time focusing on the pixel art. If I get 5 things out of this week, I'll call it good. I won't feel as bad now that I'm not settling on 3. So yeah. And then I've got all next week to figure out a new game. That'll be interesting to figure out. And then it's coming up with a product or service. And then the first week of July, I believe, is food, then to be followed by video and video games. And then after that one will be the health and well-being episode. And then I believe we're doing writing week, followed by another writing week. That seem right? I think that's the way I set it up this time, yeah? Come on. There we go. So right now we're finishing up art week. This next week is going to be board tabletop game. And then product ends on the 29th. 30th through the 6th is food related. And the 7th through the 13th is videos. And then the 14th through the 20th is video games. And then 21st through the 27th is health and well-being. And then 28th through the 30 or 28th through the 3rd is writing. And the 4th through the 10th is also writing. That's an interesting choice. Considering July was supposed to be National Novel Writing Month, to have a NaNoWriMo camp writing is every summer they do a sort of like a mini NaNoWriMo, and you have all of July to do writing on a project, and I'm starting my writing the last week of July. That seems like a poor choice, but I guess it'll be what it'll be. I may do some writing during July on top of it all. And I might do the 28th through the 3rd as write a thing a day. If I do that, I may take the 4th through the 10th off. Because if I do writing during July 1st through July 31st, I can count that as the equivalent of doing a week earlier this month. So I may still take a week off at the end of the month, or the start of next month, the 4th through the 10th. So that's sort of where my thought is right now. We are 33 minutes in, and we had a few glitches, but we didn't lose you tonight. So I think we can call a minor victory on that one. With the Goober, nice to meet you. Is that the one you're talking about, the webcomic? I've thought about going back to that, honestly. The art style is going to look very different because I've changed how I do art now. So it would probably feel a little weird to go back to it. But there was something nice about doing it like a child-friendly webcomic. I might do that at some point. I've also thought about doing 3D models of the characters and using them and posing them. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I think the one that's most on my mind and the most that I regret not doing more with was the People of the Clear Waters, the Toth Dead Phoenix. They are the story that was the most unique in art style for me, the most exploratory for me, experimental, stylistic, and I wrote like a whole series Bible about it. So, like, we got the main character, we are introduced to the mentor character, the crux of the conflict in the main character's existence now, the call to adventure, essentially. And then we got to the threshold, where they're going to cross over into a whole world where the adventures and the story are going to take place. And I had to stop there. And I haven't gone back to it. And that one haunts me a little because I have a whole epic saga of that character's journey written out as an outline for where that's going and how it's supposed to end and the big key moments that take place throughout the story that I've never told anybody about. And so that one eats at me like I need to do that one. Goober, nice to meet you. It was more episodic, and I told a lot of episodes with that. And so I don't feel like I've abandoned it at a point where like I feel like I need to get back to it in any kind of hurry. But it has been probably a decade at this point, hasn't it? Yeah. I think it's been about a decade since I last did it. Yeah. I could probably do to get back to it at some point, but the People of the Clear Waters was, and I've had it in my head of late, of the last 6 months. I've been thinking about it as a potential ported over to a video game, and I think I mentioned that before. Like the Captain Mr. Space Ninja has the 4 types of gameplay, um, that are the different episodes, I guess, of that game that are serialized essentially. But People of the Clear Waters is, as a game, potentially more of a puzzle solving platformer game with cutscenes and story arcs that are potentially non-linear. And yet at some points also linear. That's a tricky one. But I it's something that the majority of what's been planned out all fits really well in the style of a video game. You can do that. Goober as a video game might be fun to try to do. That would be kind of hilarious to do a Goober Nice to Meet You video game. But it doesn't have a cohesive narrative structure of character growth and character arcs. And so it's hard to get from a start here, win the game kind of situation. Goober Nice to Meet You, I don't know how I would do a game like that. I'll tell you what, I'll think about doing a video game for it. Um, Running up to when I do a video game at the sort of end of July. Maybe I'll figure out a way to do a video game version of Goober Nice to Meet You. And maybe it'll just be a simple, you know, that's possible. It doesn't have to be like an all-inclusive thing. I think there's a chunk of that story arc where I had Goober is left alone by himself and he's playing around with chopsticks like they're magic wands, and he goes on an adventure and he's really just playing around the house, swinging on curtains and stuff like that. I could imagine doing a very simple Goober epic adventure and have the whole backdrop. It's sort of like a Mario game. A cross, maybe even a cross between a Mario and Legend of Zelda, where the main characters are Goober and Never, which is his stuffed animal that's missing its arms. And maybe have like the intro and the credits involve Mama. And that's sort of everybody who would need to be in it. You could maybe have some other toys or dust bunnies or something like that as monsters or villains. But for the most part, I don't even want it to have monsters. Like half the fun and adorableness of the Goober webcomic was there wasn't fighting, there wasn't combat, there wasn't danger. For the most part, it was just goofy adventure and childish joy. And I think there are potentially ways to do that. So now you got me thinking about it as a video game. And if I do make a video game for it, and I release the video game for people to play, if there's interest from people who play the game, I might take the chance at some point to try to get back to doing it as a webcomic. Because I remember I was doing the style I chose to do it the first time around was something that actually translates well to becoming like a coloring book, so that you could print out the comics and the kids could color them. Um, and I did them with very simple art styles so that I could tell the story and kids could learn to draw them if they wanted to. But also, I could tell those stories with 1 hour a week or 1 hour a comic. So I could sit down and in 1 hour bang out a comic, a 3 panel comic. And uh, if I went with that mindset again, I might even be able to streamline it a little bit more. I might be able to set down a set of templates, like what's the interior of the house, what's the yard, the local playground, what are all those things look like? Build templates of them, maybe even 3D model them, so that if I need to change the perspective on a scene, I can twist the 3D picture and then use that and just draw it based off of that, rather than from scratch trying to figure it out. I could possibly do that and maybe have some orthographic drawings of the main characters and key poses that I can just reuse and resize. I could probably do that relatively quickly. And if I keep, I'm thinking it's almost like, as a web comic, it's very similar to like Garfield. So oftentimes it's like a horizon line, somebody on the John or Mama standing on the ground behind the counter, Garfield or Goober on the counter. And that's really like, that's the whole set, is a line, cut the person off at a certain point, put the character on a surface. And that makes for a fairly simple set design and makes it possible to do a very quick and easy comic because it's about the character interaction. But you will still have props and you will still occasionally have set pieces you need to do. So I could potentially do that. I'm going to have a whole boatload of things on my list of things to be doing, so I can't guarantee a super regular update schedule. We'll see. I do recall at one point that I was doing like 3 comics a day. So like one big panel for People of the Clear Waters and 2, was it 2 or 3? I think it was 3 a week for Goober. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think. And then I think I might have been doing Tuesday and Thursdays was People of the Clear Waters. I was spending roughly half an hour to an hour on each. I don't imagine I will be doing that pace again, just because I still want to be writing some books, creating some tabletop games, maybe some video games and artwork. And unless I start making a living off of any of these things, I'm also going to have the jobs, and I'm also going to have to deal with a bunch of other inconveniences in my life that are consequence of my low income level and where I live in the world. So unless we streamline that process and I'm living comfortably without having to go to work, my time is going to be about half as much to work with. And even if I had that free time, I think I'm also looking to take some online classes. And I have my 2 channels, 2 YouTube channels to work on. So I got to do some editing and filming. So there's a lot sort of on my palette, but I'm not saying I won't do webcomics. I'll have to think about how I would choose to do that. Um, yeah, I might be able to figure something out. I'll keep it in mind. We're at about 45 minutes now. I think I'm ready to call it here for the night. I appreciate the thoughts and feedback. I might actually, you inspire me slightly on occasion to add things to my list of things to do. That's a good thing, and it's more to do. Um, but it's not that I don't want to do it; it's that I want to do it. Yes, I would love to get back to doing a lot of those things, and I think there's a place in my life where I think I could probably get to that, and I'm kind of aiming towards those places if I can. It may just take me a little while to get there. So I think tomorrow we'll do a summary of where we got to with pixel art by then, and then Sunday is the starting of a board game design or tabletop game design. There you go. That's going to be interesting. I may have to do some research before then about certain dice games that I want to look into, so to get a sense for how they work. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully we have moderate success at getting this to work with us from now on. Take care and have a good night. Are we working there? Yes, we are. There we go. Yes, I want to end stream.